You know, every single time I try to tell myself, enough's enough. You're doing too much for the channel. You got enough on your plate already. Then, a brand new series literally starts as I'm deciding to pick up another one, and lo and behold, I'm making a video on it already. I guess I just cannot help myself. So yeah, a brand new manga by the name of GALAXIAS has released in Weekly Shonen magazine, where basically every other main series I'm covering on a weekly basis is publishing, so I guess I'm the guy for Weekly Shonen magazine content going forward, I guess. But I will say this, the main reason why I'm deciding to make a video on the first chapter is because honestly it was a very cool chapter and the possibilities for the series seem endless. It could be the next big thing based on this one chapter alone. And there is a lot that goes in this like 70-page first chapter, so this is probably going to be a bit of a long one. Been a while since that. Though I did read the one-shot chapter that was pre-released before this a little while ago, and it was a pretty good chapter. But despite the names of characters being the same, and specific aspects of the artwork, the main story and premise has been completely changed as of this point from the first chapter at the moment. So I'm curious to see how this story is going to progress over the future. I though have no idea if I am actually going to cover the series on a weekly basis. I probably won't, that'd be way too much for me to do. I might just jump in every now and again to update you on the series if I enjoy it that much and if it's really starting to resonate with you guys. But enough of this preamble, let's get right into this chapter. But first, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. The fact I'm not making a video every single day on different chapters of the different series I'm following right now is a miracle at this point. Anyway, let's start things off. The chapter starts off on a boat as a young man is just in awe of seeing a town, stating how a ship is pretty handy. He had no idea about this. As somebody coming up to him says, "Hey sir, we have a problem. You haven't paid your fare." As the gentleman turns around and says, "What, fare? Like a carnival?" As we then cut to the color page spread showcasing the main leads of the series, and the colors are fantastic. I love this cover image, it looks so good, and yeah, I'm using this for a thumbnail. But the chapter starts off on a certain island off the western coast of the Laniakia Kingdom, I hope I pronounced that right, as two old men are shouting out for someone named Gio. And this is chapter 1 titled Hello World. We then see one of our title characters, Gio, as she is running away from these old men in her town, presumably to be farmers, saying, "I don't wanna, you'll have to catch me." As the old men are saying she's incredibly fast, and too much for old guys like them, as one of the other guys is complaining that he's, I don't know, punctured ribs, something in his eye, all that stuff. Complaining like he's just exhausted. As Gio shouts out, "I'm setting out on a journey, I'm sick of the boonies." As she is then blocked by an old man as it is revealed to be her father. As he shouts, "Who said you could leave?" As after coming to the ground, lunges his tail at her and pokes her back. As he then grabs her with his tail, as she states, "You coward, it's against the law for dragon folk to use their powers against regular people." As he says, "Shut up," as we get the official name of this character, called Mayor Haley, who is a centipede dragon. So in this instance, we get a whole load of that there's not only humans, but also these people called dragon folk. So they're human-dragon hybrids seemingly with varying abilities, and the Mayor Haley is essentially a centipede dragon. And this is honestly a really cool looking design. I like the idea that seemingly these dragon characters have more or less tails pertaining to the particular dragon abilities. Really cool detail. But he's shouting at his daughter saying, "How many times do we have to tell you? You're not allowed to leave the island. You'll work here, have kids here, and die here." As Gio just says, "I'd rather just die. Let go, you stubborn old man." As she tries to just convince him by acting all cutesy, saying, "Forgive me, daddy, please." As then we smash cut to her being shoved into a barrel, crying as the rest of the town's kids are just trying to get her to cheer up. As the old men are saying, "Haley used to be a soldier on the mainland. There's no way you'll beat the guy. Just give up already." As Gio, somehow out of the barrel, ends up stating that she wants to go and see the big world that's out there. It'll be a waste not to explore it while she's alive. As Haley says that is just stupid, saying that nobody cares about that stuff anymore. As he goes on to state, the world's tallest peak has already been conquered, the mysterious ancient texts have all been translated, and the demons of the jungle are just relatives of cats. there aren't any adventures left anywhere, as he's trying to disillusion and temper down Gio's whole adventurous spirit. As he goes on to reveal that all these great mysteries and adventures were solved by the greatest adventurer in the world, Yuri Holst, who spent decades exploring all the unknown places on the planet. But this just gets Gio excited, as this is her personal hero, stating that he's so cool. But she then gets strangled by her dad's tail, as he says, "Don't you dare talk about him in front of me," as Gio rightfully states that he started to bring him up already. As some random guy in the town says, "The mayor sure hates Yuri Holst, huh?" As Haley states, "The ones I hate most in this world are those who neglect reality to talk about dreams and romance. And if that king of the dreamers showed up here, I'd kill him." As the townsfolk are discussing, "Come to think of it, you didn't hear his name much lately. What has it been like, 10 years? I bet he's dead in a ditch somewhere." But Gio takes the opportunity to sneak away and run from her father, as she says, "Just keep making fun of me, I'll be the last one laughing." As Haley then hits Gio in the back with his tail again, as we smash cut to her off the coast as she is fishing, complaining, saying that she has failed again. Stating that her father doesn't understand a thing, he's such a country bumpkin. As she goes on to state, "What gives? Just cause he's a little strong and respected doesn't mean he gets to act all high and mighty." As she refers to earlier, as when Gio was going off to go fishing, he states, "Hey Gio, sorry about earlier, I overdid it. I know, I'll let you leave the island as a treat." As Gio gets excited, we just get an image of Haley just saying, "No, you're not leaving," as like some kind of cruel joke or just to mess with her. I don't know, maybe to try another way of disillusioning her from going out on adventures. She then throws down her fishing rod in frustration, saying, "You just want to make a fool out of me, don't you? At least be honest about it." She then pulls out a book called GALAXIAS, as she says, "Will my life be like this the whole time?" As then she gets a bite on her fishing rod, as she begins to reel up what might be a big catch. Instead of a fish, she reels up a person, as she is confused, and the guy she reeled up states, "What am I supposed to say at a time like this? Is anything biting today?" So, yeah, pretty good. Gotta break the tension with a pretty crappy joke. But hey, what are you gonna do in that situation? You'll freak someone out regardless, you just got fished up by a fishing pole. We then cut to a little bit later, as the young man ends up laughing as he finally got a drink of water, stating, "I feel like I've come back to life. I've been swimming since this morning, so I was totally parched." As he says, "I was on death's door. Thanks," as he continues to get Gio's name wrong, as she goes on to say, "And you don't need to thank me." Gio states that she helped him without thinking, but she's wondering who this guy is. As then the young man then bows down, once again thanking her for saving his life. As he goes on to say that this is what he's heard you do in order to thank somebody. And that this seems to be the rule of this world, as this kind of takes Gio aback for a bit. As then, cutting a few minutes later, she gets the reaction that this young man doesn't know anything whatsoever, as with a smile on his face states that he doesn't remember anything about himself or about the world. "One day, all of it just disappeared from my brain. When I realized that I couldn't remember anything, I just started my journey. But as you can see, things aren't going well," as he recounts what happened with the opening chapter, where he didn't pay to get on the boat, and everyone was saying like, "Okay, you should probably get off," but that wasn't what the guys meant. But the rest of the passengers were like, "Just let him go over there," as this kind of shocks and kind of makes Gio question what the heck she's gotten herself into at the moment. But she takes the young man back to her place, which is actually like a secret hideout, as it's an old lighthouse that the government built decades ago, and now it's her secret base. Now, before I get any further, I just want to state that the lighthouse area, the name GALAXIAS, and the two characters that will eventually get all their names are brought over from the initial one-shot of the GALAXIAS manga, which became the series. So I'm really glad that the lighthouse, even though it's part of chapter 1 right now, is being brought back, as that was a very significant plot point in the one-shot. If you guys want me to talk about the story of the one-shot at some point, let me know in the comments. That'd be a fun video. But as the amnesiac is in wonder and awe of all the books, Gio just states that the old lightkeeper probably just bought a bunch of books to keep from being bored, as then the young man finds a, I want to say, adult magazine based on the dialogue, and Gio gets embarrassed and says that's probably for study material for a doctor. As then the young man takes out a notepad and states, "I gotta record this. This is the day's new discovery." As he reveals his journal, as he states that it's hard having so many things that he doesn't know, so he wants to compile a list of things that he's discovered. And so Gio takes a look at all the notes that he has and states, not just that deep bow earlier, he's serious about such strange things. Maybe there are some surprising discoveries in here. As we then just see, day 37, a new town, the ocean is huge, and a drawing of a crab. As Gio says, yeah, guess not, nothing too big here. As she wonders, why does such a helpless guy get to travel around freely while I'm stuck here? I've always wanted to go on an adventure. So yeah, she's getting envious of this new guy who has no clue who he is or any knowledge of what's going on in the world or what to do, yet he is going around in adventures to basically his heart's content. But she then flips further towards the beginning of the book, as on day 47 of his recording, it states, I can read now. The world is so interesting. So this states that it took him like over a month after losing his memories to learn how to read and write. So that's pretty interesting. And also, something I didn't mention, the notebook had been probably a year old. So he's probably had amnesia for like a full year now. So that's a pretty big thing to go a whole year without knowing yourself or anything involving the world. But after seeing this entry in the journal, Gio thinks back to her childhood as she's talking with her father, stating, hey, did you know? The stars are really pretty in the desert at night, and that the starlight is so bright that you could read a newspaper by it. I want to go see it. As Gio, looking at the paper, is called out by the young man as he asks, what's wrong? Does your stomach hurt? But Gio says, we're the same in a way. But she tells him it's nothing, as she welcomes the young man to her village. We then cut somewhere off the shore as a bunch of fishermen are just on boats looking at what's going on, as it seems that there's some sort of salt bridge in the water. And it wasn't there this morning. Is it some sort of ocean curse? As one of the other guys says, don't be stupid. It's obviously some dragonfolk power. But who could have done it on this type of scale? As somebody pops up and says, you fishermen, there's an island ahead, right? I'm looking for somebody. As we cut back to the lighthouse, as there are a bunch of jars that the young man is kind of gawking over, as Gio states that these are preservatives, food that you put in cans in order to keep them preserved for long journeys. As the young man asks if he can really eat them, as Gio says go for it, with a pretty visceral image of the young man just trying to bite through the can in order to actually eat it. As the young man says how the food inside is delicious, he says it's much better than the bugs that he ate yesterday. As Jojo says, I wouldn't make it this way if it wasn't delicious. But she then crashes on her bed and says, I thought I could learn a lot about the outside world, but this is no different than being on the island. As she stares up a little solemnly, as she says, I have a dream. To someday leave this island and go on a journey, meet lots of people, see lots of things, and put all of it in a book. Then kids in the future could read it and get excited like me. Wouldn't that be awesome? But she states, but that's just childish talk, huh? My father is against it. She goes on to say he's always wanted to make decisions for me, but he seems to hate the idea of leaving the island. He and the others gave their youth to develop this village, so I wonder if he hates the idea of me living freely. It's not fair, right? You can't choose when to be born. But what can I do? I can't oppose father. The truth is that he raised me here after all. As she's trying to cover it herself by trying to mask her obvious sadness by giving out what she believes might be fact. And she says, in my next life, I hope I can go a bit further away. As the young man pins Gio down to the bed, calling her a dummy. As he states it over and over and over again, with a bunch of different variations like lazy bones and blockhead. As Gio says, why are you only knowledgeable about insults? What are you trying to say? As the young man says, you're so boring. If you want to have an adventure, then go do it. Don't give up just because someone's against it. Lying about wanting to know stuff is the same as being dead. And obviously this is resonating with the young man as he has no memory, and so he's going off on this adventure so he can know things. And so seeing somebody who wants to go on this type of adventure and begins to learn more things is similar to him. Just like Gio said literally a few pages ago, they are the same in a way, and so this struck a chord with him, and so he wants to try and get her to follow this dream. Gio says she can't go against her father, so what do I do? But the young man says, wrong question, as he grabs her by the shoulder and says, what do you want to do? As Gio thinks back to the words that she stated when she was a kid about the world being so big, as she states, "I'm going. I won't let anyone else get in my way." We then cut to the middle of the village as the mayor and one of the townsfolk are working by the well as they're wondering where Geo is. She's kinda late and wonders if she caught lots of fish. But Haley says, "Who cares? Drink your water and get back to the field." The young man on the side says, "You're as stern as always. That's why Geo doesn't like you. Why not just let her go? We can cover her portion of the work." But Haley says it's not about that. Human value was determined by how well they serve the collective. There's no way a mayor's daughter can just abandon her village. But the young man says, "Come on, nobody cares about that. It's too much fuss over one girl. It's not like the village will fall apart." As we get a close-up on Haley's face, with obvious foreshadowing as to what this could imply. As Haley says, "Shut up, I'm the strongest one here, so don't talk back." Saying, yeah, if she can land even one hit on me, then I'll acknowledge her dream. But the guy on the side says, "Come on, not this nonsense again." We cut back to Geo and the young man, and she says, "You're really going? It's at least a 2-hour swim to the nearest island." As the young man says that, he'll be fine. As you want to say, "I've got the ring you gave me earlier," which was the life preserver that helped save him from drowning. As she says, "I don't know, I gave it to you, but it's really nothing special." But he then asks her if she's going to be okay with the stuff about her dad. As Geo smiles, stating, "This is my adventure, so I'll convince him on my own. It's my one chance to leave, and I've got to make sure he's smiling when I go, right?" As the young man goes away, as Geo says, "See ya, Nirad." I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Nirad. I'm calling it Nirad. As she says, "It's tough not having a name, right? I got it from the hero of my favorite book. It's a story of a man who gets cursed by a witch and forgets his way home. So he travels around the country searching for his family. I think it fits you perfectly. Or do you not like?" As then he grabs her hand and says, "Nirad, I'll make good use of it. Let's meet again somewhere. It's a promise." And so, Nirad left, thanking Geo for everything. And it's kind of hard to tell with the illustration, but it's implied that he's using the lifesaver wrong as he's swimming away. I like this little interaction. They bonded over their shared dreams of adventures and wanting to know things, and Geo gave Nirad his name, and it's from a tale from her favorite book, so it fits perfectly. And I feel like this book's gonna come into play at some way, shape, or form, depending on how the story pans out from here. Ash then slaps her face, sucking herself up, saying, "Alright, it's my turn. I've got to get back before the sun sets. This will all be for nothing if he's in a bad mood." As she looks around, saying through the forest, "I got a bad feeling." As she hears a rustling in the forest, and she's like, "Who's there?" As someone comes walking out with a backpack, as she's wondering, is that her father? As it is, Haley says, "So this is where you were." As Geo says, "Perfect timing. I wanted to talk to you," but before she finishes her sentence, Haley says, "Permission granted. You have permission to leave the island." This ominous scene doesn't sit right with Geo as she's wondering what's going on. As Haley says, "You're free now. Take this and go to the pier, dropping the bag that he's carrying. Leave this country once you reach the mainland. Go as far as you can to the other end of the continent and live quietly." As Geo, in just shock and kind of panic, is wondering what's going on, as we get a panel of Haley saying, "Hurry." With the next page, we see some sort of rocks or minerals poking out of Haley's side and even face, stating, "Hurry up and run." As Geo's wondering what's going on. What happened? As then somebody steps out from the forest stating, "Oh, there you are. Primary target located." As we finally see the person that was seemingly on the boat earlier on in the chapter. As he states, "I'm Yerks, one of the government's dragon knights. I've been looking for you." Geo was in shock as he goes on to say, "Thanks for showing me right to her. I was pissed when you got away, but your blood trail helped me out. Look, I know this is sudden, but," as Yerks reveals his tale, joking that he's also dragonfolk, stating, "I'm going to execute you for treason." As this shocks Geo, stating, "The world's greatest adventurer, Yuri Holst, has a daughter, Geo Holst." As this is coming to a shock to Geo, as he says, "Yuri Holst." As Yerk says, "Wait, hold on. You really didn't tell her?" As Haley is kind of silent, as Geo is wondering what's going on. Yerks goes on to say that this man isn't your father. He raised his friend's child on this island in secret, right under the government's nose. Your real father is currently wanted as a suspect in the murder of her country's supreme leader, the Dragon King. You're the child of a king killer. As this shocks Geo, and Haley says, "How dare you?" As Yerkes goes on to say, the kingdom cannot forgive traitors. Their children and grandchildren must be eradicated. Very sins of the father type thing. The family of anybody that is a traitor is going to be executed, as we get a very disturbing panel image of public execution, we'll say. As Yerk says, even if they run to the ends of the earth, as Geo is in the pits of despair right now, as she thinks back to what Haley has been telling her whole life, saying, "How many times do I have to tell you? You're not allowed to go on adventures. Live peacefully on this island." As she comes to the realization that the reason that Haley was so against her traveling the world was because it was all for her. Before I continue, I just want to say this is a very common twist in stories, but the way it's not only been presented but built up to is really interesting. Her admiration for Yuri host, Haley having a grudge against Yuri, as well as the build up to her meeting Nerid and the book. I did feel like there was going to be some sort of relation between Yuri and Geo, or perhaps Haley, something going on in the past. So this is a very big reveal, and I actually kind of like how this was brought up earlier on in the first chapter. This feels like a pretty interesting twist for a late game sting, but starting things off with this massive revelation that one of our main leads is related to the greatest adventurer in the world, and her love for adventures is most definitely in her blood, based on the fact that her father went on an adventure years ago, and he disappeared for seemingly a decade. But on the next page, Yerkes slams Haley to the ground, saying, "You're really tried, huh? Do you think there was a virtue in taking care of the child of a killer?" As Haley says, "I took Geo in over 10 years ago. She has nothing to do with that bastard's actions. If you're going to kill someone, let it just be me." Yerkes pulls his hand back as he says, "I don't care. Anyone connected to that man will die. If you're worried, then I'll send you off first so you can wait." As then a bullet crosses Yerkes' face, as Geo is standing in front of him, still scared, holding a rifle, stating, "I'm the one you're after, right? Don't hurt him anymore." As Yerkes smirks. But in that instance when he's distracted, Haley then breaks free from his grasp and then hits the ground, making a smoke screen, as he burned the grass with his venom from his tail. As Haley then grabs Geo and runs away. As Yerkes says, "This is such foolishness." Haley keeps running, as Geo's wondering, "What do we do?" As Haley says, "Cross the sea. Don't worry, I'll carry you." It's a gamble whether we can get away though, as blood is dripping from his wounds that was inflicted by Yerkes. Geo grabs a hold of her father, saying, "Father, was what he said true? Am I not your daughter?" as she's crying in his arms. As then, Yerkes hits the ground and forces it to hit Haley in the chest, capturing him again. As he smirks in excitement over managing to deal a blow to Haley, as Geo falls on the ground, hitting her head on a nearby rock, as it seems she's gotten a concussion. Yerkes states that he is a scale dragon. He can freely increase any matter that he touches with his hand. Rocks, trees, earth, even bones and teeth can be my weapons. Don't waste my time, I got a job to finish. First off, the fact that he's called a scale dragon and he can manipulate all those things is freaking overpowered as hell. That is crazy. That is a crazy ability. The fact that it has such big range, and on an island he's basically untouchable. That is legitimately crazy. What an insane power to give a chapter 1 villain. But then he looks over at Geo and says, "Huh, looks like she hit her head and can't move. That's perfect. I'll finish off this annoying geezer first. Just watch from over there," as blood is spilling from her head, as she's stating, "I can't stand. I'm all wobbly. I read this in a book. A concuss? What was it?" As she's contemplating, why is this happening? What he said earlier, how the government is looking for me. I've never heard that before. He protected me. I was wrong this whole time. I thought father kept me trapped here because he thought of his daughter chasing her dreams made him jealous, so I resented him. The one whose life was stolen away was father. And she thinks back to all the insults she's laid into her father over the years, saying that she's had no idea. As we get a panel from the first part of the chapter, as he says, "I'm sailing on a journey, I'm sick of the boonies." As she bites her lip, crying as she says, "I'm such a fool." Yerkes grabs Haley from the head, stating, "It's over, Pops. If you want to hate someone, then hate Yuri Holst and that brat. As Gio says, I'm sorry, you didn't do anything wrong, father. Please, I won't say I want to go on adventures anymore. Please just be okay. I'm sorry. I was getting an image of her book Galaxias and an image of her younger self talking over her, saying, hey, did you know? Outside the island there are mountains called volcanoes that spew fire like monsters. But after the fire comes out, ash falls down like snow. Is it hot or cold? Just thinking about it makes me excited. Make sure you take me with you. As thinking back to what she said, and Nerad saying, what do you want to do? As Yerkes gets ready to finish off Haley, Gio appears right behind him holding her rifle, wheeling herself up from that concussion. As he turns around, he then uses his scales to make a blockade before Gio can shoot him in the face. As he says, have you lost your mind, Gio Holst? As she's staring down Yerkes with determination in her eyes and barrel in hand. Yerkes says, firing multiple shots at a Dragonite, that's clearly a hostile action. Now this is personal. In this moment, I deem you a traitor to the Dragon King's government. As Haley tries to scold her, saying, you stupid girl, why didn't you run away on your own? You're up against the Dragonite, you don't stand a chance. Why can't you listen to what you're told? As she tells her father to shut up. Go, don't go, die, live, stop telling me how to live my life. Don't decide my future for me. I won't leave you behind, and I'm not gonna let myself get killed. I'm not gonna listen to any of you. I'll trample all of it as I move forward. As Haley thinks back to his last meeting with Yuri. You want me to take in this baby? As Yuri says, I'm really sorry. I swear I'll get her in a few years. I promise. As Haley says, don't be absurd. Is there no limit to your foolishness? As Yuri states, that girl is Hope. I know I can entrust her to you. As in the present, Gio lunges forward towards Yerkes as he's ready to take her on. As he states in his mind, you conceited fool. Nobody is easier to kill than a human with a gun. That gun is the only thing in your head. Come at me then. I'll wrench it away and end you. As he's saying, now hurry up, and Gio then coughs up a bullet from her mouth, going right in front of Yerkes' face, is wondering, wait, she spat it out? And in that instance, Gio says, if I can't make a scratch on you, how about this? As she readies her gun, swinging it like a baseball bat, and then hits the bullet at full force, making a bright light into Yerkes' eyes, as she struck the cartridge to make it explode. I can't believe it was hidden in her mouth. That gun is the only thing in your head. I was the one caught in that certainty. But it doesn't matter. Such a vain struggle can't possibly defeat me, as Gio then hits him in the nuts, as he collapses on the ground saying, I know you're a bad guy, but sorry. I left it up to luck to see whether the gunpowder would explode, but it looks like luck was on my side this time. Serves you right. Now stay down. I like how that flashback to her younger self, while she is just wallowing in despair about the volcanoes and stuff, gave her the idea to just surprise him with a bullet and then smack it for the potential of it just blowing up from the sheer force from her swing. That's very smart, but also a very big gamble in a desperate situation. So that is very cool, and showcasing how someone without powers can use what they have to get ahead on a fight. Also, a groin shot doesn't honestly hurt if you want to get away with your life. She then runs up to Haley as he says, are you okay? As Haley says, where did you learn such a vulgar thing? But Gio goes up to her father and says, I'm leaving. But Yerkes gets up from the ground, calling out Gio's name. As she's wondering, no way, he's back up already? What do I do? I'm out of options. As then, right when Yerkes is about to land a blow on Gio, Nerad comes forward and blocks the attack. As he states, don't you know? You'll get arrested if you hit people. As Gio says, wait, why are you here? As Nerad says, oh, I was looking for you. The ocean is too scary at night. Let me stay with you. As Gio's like, yeah, that's fine, but later. Also, I take back what I said earlier. You're not the least bit boring. As Gio gets a light in her eye. As Yerkes says, hey you bastards, did you forget about me? Quit your pointless chatter. As Nerad looks straight at Yerkes, with Yerkes getting ready to unleash an attack, stating, I don't know who you are, but if you're in my way, I'll tear you apart, encasing Nerad in a dome of earth. But he didn't hit, as Nearad managed to grab not only Haley and Geo, but he evaded the attack with seemingly no effort. As he says, "Oh, shut up, don't interrupt our chat," as not only this surprises Yerkes, but also Geo. He dodged it. But Nearad says, "I've got my energy back after eating those canned goods, so I'll give this a go again," as something that appears, as in the next page we get a double page spread of Nearad as he reveals a dragon's tail, as he is also a dragon folk. And this is a really hard image. This is one of the coolest images I have seen so far this week, and I freaking love it. The art style of this manga is so amazing, and this image alone is enough to sell anybody on giving this manga a shot. As he says, "Grit your teeth," shocking Geo, as he's like, wait, a tail? He's dragon folk too? Such incredible energy. As Nearad, with a sinister smirk on his face, says, "And get ready." Yerkes tries to unleash a barrage of earth attacks on Nearad, stating, "Don't get full of yourself. Who cares if you have a tail? I'm a dragon knight." But as these attacks are coming towards Nearad, Nearad plants his feet on the ground and then lunges forward with a manic look on his face, straight towards Yerkes. And he's like, wait, he broke through that attack? That's as hard as steel. Wait, calm down. The one you're trying to protect is a daughter of a king killer. Don't you get it? She's a traitor, and you'll be an accomplice. I'm a government dragon knight. If you land a hand on me, are you okay with starting a war? Look, I like how the instant Yerkes notices that this guy is freaking strong. It's like, hold on, we don't have to fight. You're helping a criminal. How would you stop this? Do you want to start a war with us? As then Nearad lands a blow square in Yerkes' chest, stating, "I don't give a shit about that." As then, in a massive blow, hits Yerkes clean through the mountains, leaving a massive crater of trail in his wake. As Nearad states, "Sheesh, don't get so chatty all of a sudden. It kind of startled me," as we get a panel of Yerkes on the other side of the island floating in the water. As the minerals and ground that he created that and manipulated on Holly's head begins to shatter, as it seems the injuries that were caused by it are no longer there. He's still injured, but the actual things that caused the injury disappeared once Yerkes was knocked out. As Geo asks, "Are you okay?" As Holly says, "Yeah, it seems his ability stopped working." But in the end, he's like, wait, hold on, forget about that. Were you secretly seeing each other? As Geo says, "Come on, don't be so creepy." As she stares back at the destruction that Nearad caused and is wondering, he took out someone so strong with one blow. Who in the world is Nearad? As Nearad gets in front of Geo and says, "Want to come with me?" As he says, "I heard you're Yuri Holt's daughter, right?" Truth is, I've been traveling around searching for him. I've got my own reason for wanting to meet him. Help me out while we adventure. I'm sure it'll be more fun with the two of us. But Geo looks over at Haley, and as he looks back at her, he nods his head. As he says, "Do as you like. Everything I've done until now was to protect you, his blood relative, from the government. But now there's no need for me to stop you. When I took you in, I swore that I'd raise you to be different than your monstrous father who abandoned his daughter. I'd raised you to be a kind and brave human. But the blood of an adventurer flows in your veins, and in the end, it seems I wasn't fit to serve as a parent." As Geo goes up to Haley and then bonks him on the head, stating, "You don't get to decide that. No matter what happens to me, this is the place I'll return to." As Haley is in awe, Nearad states, "Did you know? The first thing I discovered during my journey was that humans love adventures." Haley looks at Nearad for a second and laughs, stating, "I see. I suppose there's no way around it," as we get a few little panels of the townsfolk waving goodbye to Nearad and Geo as they travel on that Saltbridge Road, as wondering, this is a pretty cool road. I found it on my way back. As Geo says, "I'm sure Father made it for us. He just can't say what he's really feeling." Ending the chapter. Whew, I told you that was a long one. 70 pages for a freaking premiere chapter is always a big thing. I was not expecting to make such a big video for a review, but oh boy, was this chapter a big one. I really enjoyed this first chapter. Not only did it set up that we're going on a massive globe-trotting adventure with these two characters, but we got dragon people with special abilities. We got the mystery of this Yuri Holst, the MC seemingly has amnesia and is learning things, and there's definitely going to be some connection with Yuri in the future. There's a lot going on. We got a murder mystery, we got treason, there's a whole lot. A good amount of world building placed in this one singular chapter, and I think I'm here for the long haul. I want to see where this goes. This could be a very big, long-running series as we go to different continents, different areas, discover new things, meet all types of people, dragon people. There's so many things we can see, and the action of this chapter was pretty top-notch. Geo is a very fun character with that adventurous spirit, and Neerad is the perfect foil to her as they kind of complement each other. It's very interesting to really dive into, and I think this is a very good start to a very long journey, and I can't wait to see what the story has for us in the future. But this video is already long enough. Let me know what you guys thought of this first chapter. How do you feel about Neerad as an MC? How do you feel about Geo as one of the co-leads? How do you feel about everything I have in this chapter? The artwork, the direction, all of it. Let me know in the comment section down below on how you feel this series will progress and what kind of series it will be. And also let me know if this video does well, I might end up just making a full video going over the one-shot for GALAXIAS. Because that was a pretty fun one-shot, and I'd love to take a look at the differences one more time. Also, once more, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. I really hope I don't end up trying to make a multitude of reviews a week on 3 different weekly series. This is going to kill me if I end up deciding to go through with this. But maybe it'll be worth it at the end.